So I would like to introduce our first panel for today, opportunities for integrators. So if we're going to be joined by Helen Perry-Raycraft. Helen Perry-Raycraft, Vice President, Chief Operating Officer from Brigadier Security Systems and Elite Security Systems. Mark Gill, Security Solutions Account Executive from Vipond. And Doug Penson, President of My Managed Security and SecureU. What are the hot technologies that clients are asking about today, and where are you seeing the most growth? Mark, let's go to you first.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so for us, other than the obvious, with things like hands-free touchless technologies of access control, which is, there's been a big surge in those kind of technologies. The next real major thing for us is kind of AI, as which has already been alluded to earlier today. This is a very popular discussion with a lot of clients, mostly driven by the change to the landscape, how we have to operate as companies moving forward. So there's been a lot more discussions along with, how do we, automate a lot of our processes that we had before. But the caveat to that is, although there's a lot of discussion, a lot of clients, their main questions really relate to the cost to implement and the long-term benefits of AI versus traditional kind of security systems. And especially as we spoke about earlier on, obviously where that data is stored, especially when you're talking about facial recognition, how, on all these kind of technologies. So by using available AI, which is now becoming pretty much standard in many VMS platforms, as Draco said earlier, the smart searches, people counting, object recognition, all these kind of things are pretty much standard out-of-the-box solutions, which we can all make use of today. So these are great things to bring the client up to the next level of security from the traditional security market. The other area we're seeing a lot of growth or a lot more discussion is with completely unified security systems. So moving away from a client having all these different types of systems across multiple facilities and now want just one system. So that could be a cloud-based system, it could be an on-premise system, but that's another area where we're seeing a lot more discussion and a lot more clients wanting to go down that road of a completely unified system.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Doug, same question. What are the hot technologies that are your clients are asking about today?
Certainly from a commercial side, the cloud-based card access has been an absolute hotspot for us. With the climate that we're in, the workforce working remotely, wanting the remote tools to manage those sites, invalidating cards, modifying access levels, maybe changing unlock schedules on doors. That has certainly been a great and busy part of what is keeping our time occupied on the commercial side. And integrating that card access with the telephone entry, there may be into a situation where there's no longer reception in that open office environment, or no longer a concierge at that front security desk. So implementing that telephone entry with the card access, having one unified solution. So you're programming the card user and the tenants list with the same interface. That's been a great add-on for us and certainly keeping us busy. From the residential side, I know you're going to hear of Patrick later, but alarm.com has certainly been a game changer. Like Mark had mentioned, bringing everything into a one unified platform, having customer engagement, getting that lifestyle component where they're getting those on-demand, immediate requirements for what they need. When did the kids get home? Did I close my garage door? Geez, I was taking a call when I left the home. Did I happen to close the garage door and get an arming reminder, things like that. So certainly a lot more engagement from the end user, and being able to manage those systems, both on-site and off-site are definitely hot items.
Thanks, Doug. Helen, let's go to you for this question.
Well, I'm just going to repeat everything these guys have basically said. Yeah, I think the pandemic has really brought people around to how do I manage my home or my business when I'm not there. That's really been a big one for us. The facilities manager sitting at home and he needs to be able to manage his access control, his video, he needs to be able to see everything that's going on. So the remote capabilities, the cloud, and yeah, and we do the same thing, commercial and residential. So checking in on those kids to make sure they got home is a big one as well.
Okay. So just sort of further to that, how has the cloud sort of, very big question, but sort of changed the industry, changed the integration approach to technology? We heard Dean talk a lot about the cloud this morning, obviously, and it's been mentioned already a couple of times, but how is it changing your style of business or the way you approach a client base? So Helen, do you want to go first on that one?
Sure. So I think the perspective that we're all seeing is that we're getting away from the machines on site, and we're working with IT groups more. So we're getting out of their network and onto the cloud, so they're able to manage this remotely. That's been a big thing that we've been seeing. It's less hardware on site and just more cloud support.
Thanks, Helen. Doug?
From a cloud perspective, what I'm finding is that uptime for that service and that product, it's just there when the customer needs it. We're moving to the cloud, so there's no software on site, no desktop PC server to manage locally. Everything's being managed from a much higher platform. We're finding we're having better customer support, being able to support the client, make the change, have an immediate impact to their request remotely from our help desk, which is creating a stronger relationship with the client as well. And the great thing is there's less hardware to be managing on site. So you're not rolling a truck to, swap out that NVR or DVR that's on site, or, pushing a truck to a site, meeting a client, and it being a simple software component. We're able to monitor the health of these systems remotely and make immediate changes should they be needed.
Okay, thanks, Doug. I should remind our attendees, if you have any questions for any of our panelists, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A window, or just have any comments on what's being said, feel free to use that. And if we have any questions from the audience, we'll save those for the end as well. Mark, can you just comment on the cloud discussion a bit more before we move on?
Yeah, sure. So from our side, we're seeing definitely a lot more clients talking about cloud. It's a pretty hot topic, as I alluded to earlier, and Draco obviously as well. The main question we see from them is mainly the cost benefits. It's really, how is this going to benefit me versus, say, an on-premise solution? That's really the first question they always ask, because they don't know what the cost is going to be, so they need to know what that's going to be first. And then the second point really is the key point on that is the storage of the video, which I think Draco's already alluded to already. That's a very, one of the first questions as well is asked is about the storage. Where is it stored? A lot of people don't like it being stored across different countries, different parts of the world. They want it stored in Canada or wherever they are located. We have seen, from us personally, we've seen a lot of adoption in hybrid systems. So systems which have maybe something on premise, which is maybe doing the handling or the bridge to the cloud, maybe some storage too, and maybe archives at certain times of the day. We've seen a lot of systems like that, which clients are really interested in. So we've had some success with that kind of platform. We're not really seeing a significant increase of clients fully adopting a complete cloud solution for their large scale video systems at this point, especially when you compare it to other countries around the world. It seems to be a lot slower from what we're seeing anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what you're saying is that your Canadian clients are looking to make sure their data stays in Canada. Yeah,
that's the number one question we always get is cost and where is it stored. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Yeah.
Does this sort of not speaking specifically about the cloud, but all new technology coming in, networking, IP-based technology prevalent, does it change the skill sets that you or your installers need to keep up to date with in order to maintain that level of service? Doug, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. I mean, for many years we were, tool pouches and drills, and that was the key components of our installers, and some very basic programming through the DSE or card access side. We're really looking for a hybrid model with our technicians. They need to have the skill set to terminate the cabling, wire up the controllers, have the programming component as well, and understand that networking side and the computer connecting those controllers to the cloud and just the education surrounding all of that.
Thanks, Doug. Helen?
Yeah, I would agree with Doug on that. The technicians we seek today really have to understand more the IT world and also be able to communicate and work with the customer's IT group. So, the technicians we had 20 years ago, great bunch of people, but as technology has changed, the requirements and the knowledge path has definitely changed as well. And is definitely more IT focused, network focused, and being able to communicate the security needs into especially large corporate network infrastructures.
Thanks, Helen. Mark, what about you guys in terms of skill sets required?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much emphasizing the same thing as Helen and Doug, really. I mean, with the growth of IoT and everything nowadays, in the security market, but every market, the modern technicians really got to be IoT savvy. That's really the bottom line. They've got to have that skill set 100%. They've got to know how to program network switches, how to set up networks, all sorts of different types of environments, how to integrate certain devices. These are very important for the modern security system. So yeah, so the skill set really is now very, very different to what it used to be with screwdrivers and BNC video monitors and all these kind of test tools that you used to carry around. Nowadays, they're carrying around, great big pieces of machinery to do like, cable testing and all sorts of other things. So it's, we're definitely seeing that, the modern technician has got to have, basically be an IT skilled person for sure.
Does it also change for the customers? Like, do you find the customers are more knowledgeable about the systems that they might be using or having installed? Like, does it change the client conversation as well? Mark?
Yeah, I mean, again, with IoT and the techie world that we all live in, clients are definitely becoming more knowledgeable on what they want. Everything we touch, everything they touch, we use today in every part of our life is smart in some way or another. So yes, it's not surprising that the clients have to also be a lot more skilled than they used to be as well, because everybody has to be on the same kind of platform. The one thing we kind of often see that's missing in that conversation is from the client's wish list. We all know that AI, the cloud, all these different modern technologies are great, and they can provide some fantastic solutions and dramatically improve efficiencies and the client's operation. However, the cost to implement sometimes is often overlooked. The client may have an older infrastructure, whether it be cabling, whether it be devices, and they may not have looked at the fact that the new technology has to kind of be, it just won't work on those older technologies. So they have to upgrade their cameras, they have to upgrade their video system, they have to upgrade their access control, wherever it may be. So that's something that's often overlooked. So as much as clients love the techie world, they don't often think about what they have and where they need to be to better adopt those AI and kind of cloud platforms. So that's kind of really where I see a lot of things happening.
Thanks, Mark. Helen, what do you think?
Well, because like our company deals with two different groups of customers, we have the commercial and the residential. Commercially, definitely we are looking for the clients that are much more tech savvy. We're working with their IT group, so they're definitely asking the right questions, and obviously we have to know the right answers. So it's a different level of competence. So the IT world definitely. Residentially, we're seeing two different types of clients. Some are the Google Smart types where they've looked it up on YouTube and they think they know how to do it and get it all done. And then you actually have just definitely the younger generation who's used to living off of cell phones and smart devices. They can almost be the DIY type of group, and they're quite comfortable managing it and making it all work. So there's definitely varying levels of what our clients know.
Right. Thanks, Helen. Doug?
Neil, I think the manufacturers have done a really fantastic job in putting the right tools in front of our customers. And, gone are the days where you need to, find the key to get in the IT room, find the computer that manages the card access, find the login software, to get, the information that you need. We have great tools right at the fingertips of the end user now. If I need to play back video, it's very accessible. If I need to find that video, it's very searchable. If I need to pull a quick report on an access control event, it's right at my fingertips. And, you know, gone are those days of time-lapse recorders. I'm going to date myself by saying that, but sitting and watching a recorder for 24-hour to 72-hour period, you know, now the expectation is I want video to archive for, you know, 2 weeks, 30 days, a month. I want to be able to get that information from a month ago quickly. I want to have that video very accessible so that I can send that to management, send that to the police, whoever, you know, that source is. And the tools are easier to use, very, very friendly. And, you know, I always say to someone, if I open up my app and I was to sit here with my card access system in front of me, and I was to click unlock, if you were to put your feet off the floor and I was remotely, I would unlock that door before your feet could hit the floor. Like, the technology is just incredible in how it's designed and how the client interacts with it. We do live in a very demanding world, Neil, and everyone wants their information yesterday. And thankfully the manufacturers have listened, and, you know, we now have, you know, great tools that we can stand behind and support that we're putting in their hands. So, and the customers are extremely intelligent. You know, they know how to find YouTube and get videos and look for help and search menus and get the information that they're looking for. So, you know, a lot has changed in this game. A lot has changed.
For sure. Yes. Thank you. Helen, you mentioned sort of discussions with IT departments. Is that the main department you're dealing with these days on the client side? Has that changed at all in terms of the sort of customer, the people you're sitting down at the table with or meeting on Zoom with? Has that changed at all in recent years?
Definitely. It used to be you were dealing with facility managers, the security manager. You were discussing, you know, the closed television network. You weren't talking about, you know, the actual IT side of it. But now, because everything is going to the cloud, IT-based, IP, you have to bring your IT groups, and especially on your large commercial installations and integrations. They basically hold the key to the castle in a lot of places. So if you don't have them on board, their comfort level of what you're supplying, what the manufacturer's requirements are, it's going to be a tough sell.
Thanks, Helen. Mark or Doug, is it like the people you're talking to, or has that changed just as Helen indicated?
On my end, it's, you know, it used to be owners and operators, and now, you know, like Helen mentioned, you're dealing with facilities, safety, human resources, IT management. You know, companies are getting smart. They're bringing in the key people who are operating these departments and saying, okay, what are our challenges? What do we need to address? What are our concerns? And getting into this open conversation so that we can solve problems. So it's a collective team, but it's not necessarily your president, CFO. It's certainly a collective team on that level.
Thanks, Doug. Mark?
Yeah, as Doug and Helen have already mentioned, yeah, I mean, we're seeing the same kind of thing. Really, it's the long gone are the days of the facility manager or the operations manager or security being involved. Now it is a team. It's a team effort. We're seeing like the IT manager or the IT team. We're seeing all sorts of different facets of the company involved in decisions which are made on what security systems are rolled out and how those systems are operated, depending on the client, whether it's a production facility or a car manufacturing plant or whatever it might be. They all have their own kind of ways they have to operate, and we see a lot more people involved now in these decisions, especially when it comes to security.
Well, and if I could comment on that, I think the big thing that has changed is we're not just looking at cameras or card access from a security perspective. You know, we're the flow, we're the operations, we're the accessibility to the building, we're, you know, the control arm to the IT room, we're the restrictions to the production area, we're, you know, controlling plant and inventory and cages, and, you know, there's a lot of moving parts with security in addition to, you know, the fall, the incident, the theft, all of those things. So, you know, there's so many key people that need to be a part of that conversation to ensure that we're protecting our clients in the right manner.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Have you experienced any supply chain issues recently or any sort of equipment shortages? I know that was a big topic at the beginning of the pandemic and there were fears about that. And maybe some of that came to fruition or some of it didn't, but I'm just curious as to where you are now in 22 and sort of what your expectations are. Doug, you want to go first on that one?
Well, it's funny. We've been very fortunate throughout the pandemic to have a lot of reasonably great supply throughout. Certainly some surprise items that were unexpected, like card access tags, card credentials. So then we were shifting to a mobile credential and utilizing smart card technology if the traditional options were no longer available. Some wireless radios, GSMs are some of our communication hardware we are looking for and having difficulty getting our hands on it. But we're working through the process here. We're working through it.
Thanks, Doug. Mark?
Yeah, I think we've all seen there's definitely supply issues. I mean, for us, we're seeing extremely long lead times on many security devices. Like I said, card readers, as Doug had already mentioned, cameras, many different devices. Even coming down to things like cabling, conduits, network, and display products, we're seeing from all different facets that are involved in the security system build out. So it's delays on a lot of projects are definitely there. We're having to do a lot more explaining to clients as why this is not finished yet or why there's a delay on something. We're trying to find solutions or alternatives. Many of the suppliers are great. They're supplying great alternatives. So we are kind of getting through it as best we can. And one thing we've kind of done within probably the last 6 months is we've, for some of our clients that are purchasing regular items on a frequent basis, we're actually bringing in stock ahead of time, even if they haven't purchased it, just so we have that equipment sitting in our warehouse. So when they do need it, we have it on demand. But we definitely have to shop around now. We have to look around and see what the client needs, try and get what they need within a reasonable time frame. Even if it means going to a completely different solution, which they originally had in the first place. That's something we've had to do as well.
Thanks, Mark. Helen?
Yeah, I think we're all feeling the same pain. I think if anything that it has taught us is that we need to be able to adapt and come up with a solution, but in a different methodology. If this part isn't available, let's find the workaround. We're going to get to the same answer. But yeah, I think globally, we are all feeling the pinch on not having the products that we need or the crazy delay times.
Yep.
It's just crazy.
Do you find that customers are understanding of that, or they're sort of building in extra time or scheduling?
Yeah, our customers, when we explain to them that it's a global issue, there's manufacturing delays, they're quite understanding. And of course, we're all still just coming out of this pandemic, and a lot of people are like, okay, well, I get it, I understand, and we just all put our best foot forward. But I have found that a lot of our clients are they're patient, they're understanding, and we're all just trying to get through this together. So
yeah, that's kind of been a hallmark in the last couple of years, just trying to get through this.
Yep.
We're almost there, hopefully. So speaking of shortages, are you having any trouble finding people, whether it's techs or installers or any workers in your business or any employees? There's been a lot said about the Great Resignation and things like that, and even some of the skill shortage issues, whether it's physical security or cybersecurity. But what is the situation like for you right now? What do you think the outlook is, Mark?
We could always use definitely more installers and technicians. That's something we always need. The question is where to find them and find good ones that are capable of working on, obviously, the very high-tech systems which we now deal with, IT-related systems. But even the older technologies, technicians that know about an analog camera or know about certain older technologies which are still out there. These are the challenges I think we still have. So to find a great technician that can do all these is pretty much a unicorn. They're very hard to find. And what we see is a lot of these technicians are kind of Now, once they're in a position, they don't really move around too much. They kind of stay there for the long haul. They don't really move around. So yeah, we're definitely seeing it's kind of hard to find really good technicians. We're bringing in a lot of younger guys, and we're training them up. Basically, we're giving them the skills they need and training them up on the job. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Doug, what do you think?
Well, Mark certainly nailed it with the unicorn thing. The absolutely correct. Like, I find the talent pool on the senior side, senior technician side, very difficult to find. As Mark touched on, we're hiring a lot of junior people in addition to our senior crews, and just finding that hybrid, technician with those skill sets that we're looking for. And I think the big thing is finding people with the willingness to learn, because there is a lot to learn in our industry. One moment you're at a card access site and deploying that, the next moment, you're putting in a large access control solution and integrating that with the DSE Neo security control panel. Like, there's lots to learn, and it's just that education willingness and teaching and learning our team so that we can grow them and harvest them into being that great senior technician that we're all struggling to find.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug. Helen, what's your experience?
Yeah, I concur with both Mark and Doug. The senior technician, you're just not going to find them off the street, or that perfect resume is just, it's not coming in. We're lucky here in Saskatchewan, where I am, where we have a great base of technicians, and thankfully nobody's left us recently. So, but it's a lot of training. It's finding the younger, the enthusiastic type people that they want to take this on. They want to branch off into something new. They're willing to sit there and learn and understand kind of how this technology goes and how it diversifies. So yeah, it's a tough nut for everybody to get through. And, when we don't really have facilities that are educating on the broad scope, we also turn back to the manufacturers to help us, educate our new staff on their product and their technologies, and how some of it just cross relates to other manufacturers as well.
So just sort of further on to that question, what can the industry do, the security industry do better to draw new people, young people into this business, get them interested in it? Helen, what do you think?
Well, I'm of two minds. I find security, we're growing, we're diversifying, we're important, but what we're lacking is just the general public's understanding that we are an industry into itself. You have the plumbers, you have the electricians, they go through school, they have their training programs. Unfortunately, across most places in Canada, there isn't an actual training program for those types of areas. So if I had a wish list, it would be to get some basic training into technical schools, a little bit of maybe in universities. And then, again, we're bringing in manufacturers to help us train our people as well.
Thanks, Helen. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, as Helen just said, the training and education is key. That's where we've got to get the new technicians kind of at the very early stages. So colleges, universities, we have to get sort of more of these security kind of training programs into these areas. We're dealing with very exciting, high-tech, cutting-edge technology, with AI and all these other systems we're dealing with now. So we've got to get the kids excited. They've got to understand that this is like the CSI you see on TV. This is something you could be involved in, and you can actually have a career in this. So these are the kind of things that I think are very important. It's really getting into the schools and colleges, universities, even adapting traditional courses like IT courses, software courses, networking programs, which are kind of, nowadays it's all the same thing, whether you're hooking up a telephone, or whether you're connecting a laptop, or you're connecting an access camera, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's still have to have that IT technology understanding. So really, I think we should just try and leverage more of the, try and push the message through a little bit more to the educational facilities to get them to kind of just adopt this a lot more than it is now, for sure.
Thanks, Mark. Before we move on, Doug, what do you think about what we can do better to make this industry more appealing for newcomers, for people that are looking to change careers or start a career?
As both Mark and Helen mentioned, just the awareness that this industry exists. It's a pretty exciting industry. I mean, if I look back in the last 28 years I've been in it, we're in some unprecedented times, crazy technology that's exploding by the seams. We used to just talk about arming and disarming and stay and away functions. And now you're arming with a card credential and no user codes and cloud management. And I think just getting some education, maybe getting some certification, some licensing, some standards to the industry. I think that would be, a great step for all of us.
For sure. Thanks, Doug. Okay, we have like 5 or 10 minutes left, and there's a couple of questions in the Q&A and in the chat. So maybe we'll just ask a couple of these before we move on. Okay, our integrator is asking for more CompTIA type certifications more often when looking for technicians. Does anybody want to answer the question about CompTIA? Before I pick on somebody. Helen?
Sure. Well, I mean, again, it's kind of like your ideal scenario, but I would love to have, CompTIA certifications for my technicians or hire people with that. But when you're kind of in an industry that isn't recognized, like I said, the plumbers or the electricians, the wages that people expect or the baseline of wages, you're also competing in that aspect as well. So the higher your certification, the more money obviously you expect to have, which is great. But then in a kind of non-certified, non-regulated kind of industry, you go back to the customer and you explain, well, my hourly rates have gone up because I have the qualified individuals, but they can go down to my neighbor and they can get maybe not as great as the system, but their rates will be less because they don't necessarily have the same requirements for their techs.
Thanks, Helen. Mark, Doug?
I mean, certainly having, skilled people available in that talent pool would be, a great selection to be able to have. I know our HR department has been utilizing the resources from, a couple of the institutes and getting where there's, low voltage and networking training and skilled courses that they've completed. So we've been doing outreach to that, low voltage side, on the networking side, trying to bring those, those young, ambitious, eager, willing individuals who already are interested in low voltage and the data side to our industry, and then teaching them, the mechanical side of it with the installation component.
Thanks, Doug. Here's an interesting question. What has been the supply chain crunch effect on equipment pricing or the effect of inflation, as we've all seen in the last 6 months or so? Has that changed the pricing model for anybody?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as I said earlier on, the lead times are a lot longer, and also prices have gone up. We've seen in some from some suppliers, the pricing's gone up sort of 10-15%, maybe even more on certain devices. So yeah, there has definitely been a dramatic increase in cost. We've seen a very big increase in cabling cost. That's something that has definitely gone up a lot. So yeah, that's definitely something that's affecting our kind of our bottom line and what we're having to pass on to clients, really, because they're going to have to pay a little extra, unfortunately.
Thanks, Mark. Helen or Doug, any comments sort of about the pricing implications on the industry and how that's going to affect either your business or your clients?
Again, when the price of everything goes up, unfortunately, we have to look at increasing our prices. For our area, it's really a very competitive environment as well. So commercially, especially the large commercial, they understand the cost of business and they understand that prices go up. But when you get into the residential market, I find a lot of customers still think, well, I want it for free. So we have to, on the inside, find ways to make our bottom line work without scaring away the customers with any significant price increases.
Right. Thanks, Helen.
I agree with Helen's statement there on the commercial side. You know, there's certainly more resilience there, and compassion, understanding that. From the residential, you know, we are absorbing a lot of those costs, and I'm sure both Helen and Mark could agree with this. But I've never adjusted so many prices in my software as I have in the last, you know, 18 months to 2 years. We are constantly seeing rate increases. And when we're quoting larger projects, we're always going back to look at the pricing and comparing it to our suppliers to ensure that, you know, we've caught this in our system, because there has been a great deal of increases.
Definitely. It's a lot more admin work.
Oh yeah, a lot more time spent in front of the computer.
So we talked a little bit about residential, so maybe we'll just ask another question about that. But are you seeing customers wanting to integrate more of their smart security with smart home systems like lighting? That's always been a sort of background topic or topic of discussion I've seen sort of up of interest in the last couple of years. But what are you actually seeing on the customer side? Are people looking for these solutions?
I'll take that. I mean, from our side of things, doing lots of integration with locks, lights, thermostat, garage doors, blind integration, sprinkler integration. The big one right now is a lot of water valves and flooding. You know, when that, you know, Patrick, I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later with alarm.com, but what a great product with integration. And, you know, in the event of an alarm, water sensor, turn off water, or whenever our phones geofence leaves the home radius to turn off our water valve. You know, insurance companies are going to be all over this. It really is such a great solution. There's a lot of customer engagement, and they certainly love those, that, you know, these lifestyle components, if they're fortunate and able to do so. But alarm.com is a product we use for our home automation, and it is such a game changer. What an incredible product.
Definitely. I agree with Doug. We use a lot of alarm.com, and it's really brought into the whole smart home concept, and it's one user platform, and it's up in the cloud. So if we need to support our customers, we're able to log in from our office space, or if we're working at home, support our customers and make sure their integration, their scenes, all that good stuff is working.
Great. Thank you. I think that's all we're going to have time for. There's a couple of questions we didn't get to, but we'll have to keep moving along here. So thank you very much, Mark and Helen and Doug, for sharing some time with us today and sharing your insights. It's been very helpful, and we appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Great,
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.